Yo, I want to know if you think that this is fair. President Biden pardoned his son, Hunter Biden, from the gun charges, from the tax evasion. Now, listen, I do understand that's your child, and if you're the president of the United States, I get it. But both Joe Biden and his wife, Joe Biden, both said that, they're going to let the legal system handle it. Now, I do understand because I do think as a child, you would feel some sort of way if your dad was the president of the United States and you couldn't get that off. Well, anyway, it came out just now. Please make sure that you subscribe to this channel, thumbs up the video and all that, right? So I was just scrolling after the gym. I had a nice little hour workout and I'm scrolling on Twitter. And so I see this post that says President Biden announces that he has pardoned his son, Hunter Biden. Oh, how convenient. And I ain't even mad. Like, I'm not mad, but I do think it is definitely nepotism and it's abuse of power. I don't care how anybody feel. Comment below. Let me know how you feel about it. So, and he said, I hope Americans will understand why a father and a president will come to this decision. So let's read what Biden said. So today, he said, today I signed a pardon for my son Hunter. From the day I took office, I said I would not interfere with the Justice Department's decision making, and I kept my word, even as I have watched my son being selectively and unfairly prosecuted. Oh, really? Even in all of his white privilege, and really, without aggravating factors like use in crime, multiple purchases, or buying a weapon as a straw purchaser, people are almost never brought in on trial felony charges solely for how they filled out a gun form. All right. So those who were late paying their taxes because of serious solicitations, but paid them back subsequently with interest and penalties, are typically given non-criminal resolutions. It is clear that Hunter was treated differently. Oh, was he? Was he treated differently? Okay. The charges in this case came about only after several of my political opponents in Congress instigated them to attack me to oppose my election. Then I carefully negotiated a plea deal agreed to by the Department of Justice, unraveled in the courtroom with the number of my political opponents, and Congress taking credit for bringing political pressure on the process. Had the plea deal held, it would have been fair, reasonable resolution of Hunter's cases. So you see what he's doing. I feel like this is an abuse of power. First, y'all was saying that y'all didn't want this to go through. You wanted the Department of Justice, the Justice Department, to handle this, and now all of a sudden at the last moment, right before Trump is about to come in office, he made sure that he did this. Listen, I get it, and I understand that you can't let the left hand know what the right hand is doing, because they've been asked them just as recent as weeks ago. They asked him about this because I remember seeing something about it in the news, and he said that they were not going to pardon him. All right. So we said no reasonable person who looks at the facts of Hunter cases can reach any other conclusion than Hunter is being singled out only because he is my son. And that is wrong. There has been an effort to break Hunter, who's been 5.5 years sober. You already know the history with Hunter Biden and the D-Rugs and all of that, right? Even in the face of unrelenting attacks and selective prosecution and trying to break Hunter, they tried to break me. And there is no reason to believe it will stop here. Enough is enough. I think about all of the other people who've, received unjust by this legal system. And yeah, man, I mean, let me just continue because there's a video that I want to play too. All right. She says, for my entire career, I have followed a simple principle. Just tell the American people the truth. They'll be fair-minded. Here's the truth. I believe in the justice system, but as I have wrestled with this, I also believe raw politics has infected the process and it led to the miscarriage of justice. Okay. And once I made the decision this weekend, there was no sense in delaying it further. I hope Americans will understand why a father and a president will come to this decision. Yeah, I understand that you're saving your son. And listen, I understand that also Hunter could be under he could be under the radar would just be associated in being your son. I understand and I get it, right? But I do feel like that this is an abuse of power. What I also want to do right now, I want to play this video that I have found from, I believe it's NBC. So let's just check this out really quick. I want to get your opinion at the end. Make sure you leave your comments at the end of this too.
We are coming on the air with breaking news tonight. President Biden has made a decision to pardon his son Hunter ahead of the transfer of power to President-elect Donald Trump, according to a senior White House official with direct knowledge of the decision. He's expected to announce it later on tonight. And this comes months after Hunter Biden was convicted on gun charges back in June. That marked the first time a sitting president's child was convicted of a crime. Hunter Biden also pleaded guilty to federal tax charges in September. White House officials and President Biden himself have said repeatedly that he would not, in fact, pardon Hunter before leaving office. But tonight we learned of the president's decision. Again, a reversal for him and what the White House has said President Biden would do. I want to bring in our White House correspondent, Mike Memoli, who's joining us now on the phone from Washington. Tell us more, Mike. Why did this happen and why the reversal?
Well, Hallie, this marks a reversal of what has been the public posture of the White House for months. Since the president's son was first found guilty by a Delaware jury of gun-related charges, and then later when he pled guilty to tax-related charges, the White House has insisted, including as recently as last week, that the president was not considering a pardon or a commutation of his son's sentences, which still have not, we should add, been handed down by the respective courts in which he was found guilty. But what we understand to have taken place is a series of conversations, father and son, that included just this past weekend in Nantucket. I was with the president in Nantucket this weekend. He has spent the Thanksgiving holiday there with his family for decades, but this weekend was just him, the First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden, his son Hunter and his family, as well as his daughter Ashley. And as the president returned to Washington, to the White House last night, he began to inform the White House officials of this decision, that he would be making the pardon official. Now, the president has been discussing this matter with his close aides for some time, even as the White House publicly said that they were not considering this, but that this is a decision that obviously carries significant weight. And I must say, Hallie, I was at the White House today. I'm still at the White House now, as a matter of fact. We saw the president and the First Lady speaking publicly on the issue of World AIDS Day. And both of them were I was struck by the emotion in their voice as they were talking about the family having to deal with loss. Of course, we know the president lost his eldest son, Beau. He lost his wife, his first wife, Neely, in a car accident 52 years ago this month. And the emotion of the moment seemed to be particularly poignant for them. And so this is a decision obviously coming at the end of his time in office, with just 51 days left before he hands off power to President-elect Donald Trump. And part of the concern that has been leading to the speculation that he would do this is about what investigations might still come. Would a Trump administration, would a Trump Justice Department continue with additional prosecutions? Would the prospect of his only remaining son going to jail, if that would be the sentence that would be handed down, be something that would be too much for this president, for this family to bear? And so now we have the decision that has not yet been announced publicly by the White House, but which NBC News, with our colleague Carol Lee and Sarah Fitzpatrick, reporting this evening.
Mike, I know there was a bit of a sort of technical delay here, but I'm going to try again. I want to ask you this. We know that the sentencing for Hunter Biden was set to be in just a couple of weeks, December 12th and December 16th, on those two separate cases. To be clear, this pardon would cover both of those convictions, right? Both the conviction and the guilty plea, yes?
It's our understanding at this point, Hallie, but I think it is important to note that one of the things that complicates this issue is that the sentences have not been handed down just yet. And so as this reporting is just coming out, we're waiting for full information. I think it's important to wait and see what the White House puts out directly on this matter, because the paperwork for this kind of issue of a pardon of this nature does require the Justice Department to weigh in. There are officials that have to go through the process of making this official, and so the under the pardon power, this is just a way for the president to spare his son of any jail time. It's also worth noting that the denials of this have not just been coming from the White House, from the president himself. I spoke with First Lady Jill Biden just after the Delaware case was resolved and the guilty sentence came down. And I said to her, I asked her this question, that your husband has the power to spare your son of this fate, this potential jail time. Don't you wish that he could exercise this power? And she said to me that we respect the rule of justice in this country, and that was not something they were contemplating. So this has been, as the president was weighing the re-election campaign, the fate of his family was something that they considered about whether to seek a second term. As he waged that campaign, there was a number of developments in this case, including, remember, that plea that was originally meant to resolve this, in which he would plead guilty to both charges in 2023 to avoid the trial from even happening. That plea deal fell apart. He had to then go through a grueling trial, the First Lady present in the courtroom every day, almost every day during that trial. The jury of Biden's own hometown of Wilmington, Delaware, coming down with that guilty plea, and then just weeks later, the president had that fateful debate against Donald Trump. And so the story of President Biden is one in which, as he himself says, family is the beginning, the middle, and the end. And now you have the president in his final days of office taking this action, which a president has that unique prerogative, that unique power of the presidential pardon, to take this burden off of his son. It's a decision that it has been so complicated, but one that the president has ultimately decided and made after spending the last few days, this holiday period, with his family in Nantucket.
Mike Memoli, thank you very much, ma'am. We appreciate that. Again, this news developing in just the last couple of minutes here. And so to reiterate to folks, according to a senior White House official with direct knowledge of the decision, President Biden has made a decision to issue a pardon for Hunter Biden, who, again, has faced that conviction, that guilty plea on both the federal gun charges as well as federal tax evasion charges. It is expected, it is anticipated that President Biden will make this announcement official later on tonight. Again, that pardon for Hunter Biden. Now, we will, of course, have continuing coverage of this significant decision by President Biden. As you heard our team of reporters and correspondents lay out, including our Kara Lee, Sarah Fitzpatrick, and Monica Alba, who are behind this reporting, President Biden is expected to pardon his son Hunter later on tonight. He has made that decision. You heard Mike Memoli talk about spending the Thanksgiving holiday with his close family. It is a reversal for President Biden, who has long said for months that he would not, in fact, pardon his son. The White House just reiterating this only weeks ago, and yet less than 2 months before that transfer of power to President-elect Trump, we are expecting that news from President Biden tonight. We will have much more coverage right here on NBC News Now, on NBCNews.com, and then, of course, a full wrap-up tomorrow morning on Today. We'll see you then. I'm Hallie Jackson. For all of us here at NBC News, thanks for watching.
So listen, I just want to say this, right? I want to say this again. I understand being, the president of the United States, your son got into something. He feels as though with, even in Biden's white privilege or whatever, he feels as though his son was targeted. So he wants to pardon him, from the gun charge and also from the tax evasion. Okay. I do feel like it's an abuse of power, but I would expect that to happen. More so, listen, I've done yapped enough. I want to know what you feel about it. What do you think? I played that video just for context, so you can hear. And, from another source that said that, Joe Biden said that they wanted the justice system to handle it. His wife said it. So, again, I understand not letting the right hand know what the left hand is doing, but yeah, it does look a little scary. It looks like I wanted to do this before the transfer of power was, given to Trump, because they probably felt like the results wouldn't have been as responsive as now, that he can just clear this up. And then, as you heard from the reporting, they stated that can, Trump's administration do further investigation or, in regards to Hunter Biden. So we'll see what happened, what materializes with this whole matter. Listen, please get in the comments. Let me know what you think. Potent, pondering, never pandering, never what? Panhandling. Yeah, let me know what you think. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I hope y'all all doing well. It's Sunday. We about to get back into this work week after the Thanksgiving. I've been off since Wednesday. I honestly can't wait to go back to work tomorrow because I got so many cases. I know that they stacking up. I know that work done stacked up since this break. But yeah, man, I do think this is an abuse of power. Get in the comments. Let me know what you think. Subscribe to this channel. Yeah, and I'm out. Peace.